Hello? Hello? Now can you guys hear me? Yellow, yellow. Welcome to the stream. How are you all today? For some reason my chat is not showing on my OBS, but I can see it on here. Okay. So today we're going to do, well, what's in the title. We're going to texture paint Mr. Cabrera. Oh, thank you, Marcus. Yeah, the songs that we are listening to today are the 1 hour relaxing Fontaine soundtracks part 1. If the music is too loud, let me know. I can adjust it. Or if it's, you know, too low. Also, I have adjusted the stream a bit, so now we have Streamlabs, basically. So Streamlabs will allow us to have, when there's like a new subscriber or a new donation, it'll pop up on the screen, and then there's this like little jar right here. And if there's like a, oh my gosh, I can't talk right now. If there's a new subscriber or a new donation, there'll be like a little coins or icon that drops into the jar. So if you're wanting to support the stream, you can click the link right there in the description below. Or if you just subscribe, that will also trigger the little alert, Streamlabs alert. I used to have this set up and I hadn't for a bit because I was focusing on the Kickstarter, but now I have it set up again so that people can actually, or also if you do a super chat, it does it too. I think it should. Yes, it does. So that way it can actually see when it show on stream when someone donates. Oh, did I not? Oops. Okay, hold on. Okay. So today we are going to be texture painting this fine lad over here. And for those who do not know, this is Mr. Cabrera, and he is one of the teachers at Noirmore Academy. Specifically, he is the composition teacher. In America, we would call him the English teacher, basically, but since English isn't really a word on this alien planet, we will use the word composition instead. I will also answer questions from the chat, but at the same time I might not be able to answer every question because there might be spoilers involved or I just don't have the answer ready yet, etc. So don't be offended if I don't answer your question. It might just be that I can't answer it at this time or I'm busy working on the art. But feel free to post questions in the chat if you'd like, and I may answer them. For example, Taylor asks, I got a question. Who is your favorite character to design and your least favorite character to design? That's a good question. I'd say my favorite character to design was probably... I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is Mrs. Lune. But I also really enjoyed designing Miss Keen. Oh, the Bard. Bard was probably my favorite character to design. Least favorite character though? It was a bit difficult to design some of the older male characters, like Headmaster Claiborne and especially Mr. Bagshaw. In fact, I think I might go back and redesign him again. I'm just not as good when it comes to designing kind of older male characters because I just don't have a lot of experience with it yet. I'm more of a person that designs a lot of cute girls and cute ladies. But I want to get better at that. So I went back and did some redesigns on them and have been working on getting better at being able to design stuff that I'm not used to designing. In order to add some more, age diversity in the game. Because it only really makes sense for a prestigious university to have like a lot of older people, older guys that are also working there. I want to have that sort of more realistic feeling where it's not just like all pretty anime boys and pretty anime girls, I guess. So that led to me having to get better at doing something new. So that I could make it feel a bit more realistic, I guess. As realistic as you can get a game with pretty horse people in it to be, anyway. Pretty cartoon horse people. Morgan asks, AU idea, what if Germa appeared at Noramore Academy and did Germa things? What would happen? Oh man. Maybe he would throw somebody in a meat grinder and only their eyeball would pop out. I don't know, but something I would really like to have is Germa voicing like a character or something, but I'm not in a position to be able to like reach out to some big streamers sometimes because I might have to reach out through like an agency or something like that. But I'd love to hire him if I was able to or could afford to. Especially to do some kind of like side character or secondary character doing the joke or something. That'd be really fun. Because I know he's done some voice acting before in some other games, but I wouldn't know how to reach out to him, basically. Marcus says, if I may say, the biggest draws of Noirmore are the vintage aesthetic, especially all the lore. The students may have been bored in their history class, but I, for one, was quite into the lore. Well, thank you, Marcus. Milika says, he is beautiful. He looks like a dad of the girl with the goat horns. Oh, you're close. They are related. He is actually her older cousin. So that's why he's called Mr. Cabrera, because Lydia is called Lydia Cabrera. They're from the same family. Multi-Fandom Studios asks, why does Mr. Cabrera use a cane? That's because he needs to use it. One of his legs since birth has some like chronic issues with it, basically. So he has to use a cane for helping him get around. Common tongue teacher. If I may, Marcus asks, if I may, will any of your games be on console? We hope so. As basically, it's on our list of stuff we would really like to do if we can. So we can't make any definitive promises, but we would really like to do it if we can. We've never shipped a game on console before, which is part of the trickiness. We don't have the experience doing it yet. And we don't currently have dev kits for stuff like the Switch or PlayStation. So in the future, if we're able to, we would like to get dev kits and port the games. I believe Unreal Engine has a fairly good process, but I don't know for sure. That's just something we hope to do. Marcus asks, is it okay if I advertise for your game? I would like to do so in a few Discord servers and wikis I'm a part of. Yeah, feel free. One second, I'm gonna actually post about this on my Instagram story real quick. What's the bard's real name if he has one? Asks Phoenix. I'm afraid I cannot answer that question yet. Good question. If this isn't spoilery, how fresh are the wars spoken of at the beginning of the game in the minds of some of the characters? For instance, I know that Headmaster Claiborne was a veteran. Well, Marcus, basically, the war happened about... It started 25 years ago from the game's timeline, and it ended 4 years later. So it ended, like, 21 years ago. So it's fairly fresh in a lot of people's minds. Like how fresh something from 2005 or 2007 would be to us. Okay, I'm posting on my Instagram story that the stream is happening. 1 second. Okay. My favorite thing. Marcus says, so this world war is effectively like this world's analog to World War I. Yeah, somewhat. It's technically based more on at least the aesthetics of World War II, but because this is a fantasy world, it's not quite the same type of... It's more just like aesthetically based on that idea. But you're right in that if this world is themed after the 40s, and then 20 years ago, it would basically be World War I. But because this is like a fantasy world, it's like the aesthetics basically remained the same over the past 20 years. They're not progressing in the aesthetics as much as we did from the real world, World War I to World War II. If that makes sense. They're very traditional people, and their cultural aesthetics don't change as quickly as ours do, in other words. And some technologies. Painting the faces is definitely my favorite part. Oh, that's true, yes. This war in my game is only 4 years long, which is more analogous to World War I in that sense. Painting the face is definitely my favorite part. Actually, I've been studying, well, I need to study a bit more, but I've been looking at more historical battles and stuff to try to figure out how to write certain stuff. Because, as you might have seen in the demo, there's a reenactment club, and they reenact battles from the Onyx War. But to reenact battles, they have to know what happened in those battles. So I have to know what happened in those battles as the writer. So I have to like figure out how some of these battles looked so that the kids can actually reenact them. So I have to research more into actual army history, which is interesting. But it's not something that I have like a specialization in. So we writers have to research all kinds of things. One thing that's definitely going to be a big theme in this story is how the war affected people. And that's all I'll say for now. So that's one of the reasons why the war has such a big emphasis in the beginning of the story. It's very important to the story. They do have television, or at least an equivalent, but the school doesn't have one. They have like just a projector because they believe, you know, that having TVs in school would distract the kids and stuff. But so they have like one projector that is used for the film club. So kids usually have to go home to actually watch TV. But even then, it's not really like TV. It's like they go to the movies. Because TV wasn't really a thing in the 40s. That was more like the 50s. So they still had movie theaters and they had radio shows. And radio shows are really popular in this world. But I do have kind of plans of like the projectors and movie theater type things. And some of them have like home projectors, home theaters. So it's kind of like TV, except would they have live broadcasting of it? I'll have to think about that. If it's like possible for it to be live broadcasted or not. Considering, well, I guess it would probably, so I need to write this down more, but the radio shows in this world kind of work by connecting to a central kind of resonatic crystal. I can't explain all this now, but there could be some kind of special radio show that does have images that go with it, because you are able to project mental images in people's heads. So while TV might not necessarily exist, there's sort of an equivalent with live broadcast shows being broadcast into your head that project mental images, so that as you're listening to the radio show in your head, you can also see certain mental images that they put in your head. That kind of thing. And yeah, color film is not something they ever really have cared about trying to invent, so I would say that they probably don't have color film or color photos. But they do have like colored paintings, or sometimes photos can be colored by hand because there's not really much to color by hand. Aunieri, sorry if that's not correct. Was it challenging to work with a mostly monochrome color palette for things you wanted to emphasize, considering the single color rule of your character designs in this game? Oh yeah, definitely. It's been a challenge working with such a limited palette, especially when it comes to environment art. For character designs, it hasn't been that bad. There's been some times where I'm like, I kind of wish I could use some color here so that I could better do certain things, but for the characters, not really. For the environments, though, yeah. There's been a lot of times where it's like, man, I wish I could make the water blue. Or I kind of wish the grass could be green so it's nice and beautiful and pretty, but I have a limitation to work with here, but I think it's a good one. And it's going to really make it stand out. And that way, whenever I do use color, I have to be careful where and when I do use it. So the kind of current rule of color I have in my head is color right now is only usable for family colors. That includes in like portraits or flags and certain banners that represent different family crests. Or crystals, because crystals produce light and they can produce colored light and are generally kind of the spots of interest where you have crystals. But also there's a third sort of color usage, and that is for religious imagery. The people in this area worship a being called the highest king, and it is thought that he and his servants have some of them. They have like multicolors. They're prismatic almost in how they appear, so that it's almost blinding to people of this planet. So when you see stuff that has like a prismatic or multicolor tone to it, it's probably some kind of religious imagery or representation. Or, here's another one, it's from off-planet. There also might be stuff that's off-planet that you'll find for story reasons. A couple of the characters, including the character that we are painting right now, have been off-world. They've traveled to different planets, different worlds. So some of the stuff they've brought back is colorful because it's from off-world. Oh, I'll have to check that out, Oscar. Kings and generals. Taylor asks, is there any hatred between those two families? Oh, you mean the Baron of Northberg and Baron of Drakkenspire? Definitely. There's still a lot of built-up resentment and heat from the Onyx War. Taylor asks, are the group of them that don't have the discs on their fingertips so they don't wear gloves? No, it's basically a thing that everybody has. Unless, of course, there's some kind of birth defect or something like that. It's just something everyone has. It's more likely to be born without a horn than it is born without the fingertip discs. The reason I decided to be so specific with the color is because when I first was concepting this planet for the Mariposa project, I wanted it to be very noir inspired, noir themed, And one of the cool things about noir is that they worked within their limitations to use that to make very suspenseful and great stories. The black and white was a limitation, but they used it to their advantage by instead putting the focus on dramatic lighting and high contrast. So if you watch some of these classic 40s movies, there's a lot of emphasis on very deliberate lighting and contrast because they didn't have color to work with. So I wanted to sort of bring that mysteriousness, that contrast, that black and white aesthetic of those 40s films to a game. But I don't have the limitation of not being able to use any color, so instead I decided that if I were to use color, it would be for specific things, specific things to highlight, emphasize. And to this culture, their families, their ancestry is incredibly important to them. So each family has their own color, their own crest, and that is the color that they choose to put on themselves. As for the gold, that's to show sort of the wiring of their powers. I based the idea of the gold rings on them based on like circuitry, the ideas of circuitry, wiring. So the gold is there to emphasize their powers and how important their powers are to their culture and their beings. How old is Mr. Cabrera? I believe he's in his 20s, his late 20s. I have to look back at my character sheet. He's an older cousin to Lydia, so he's from different parents that were a bit older than Lydia's parents. I don't know that much about Hell of a Boss, so I don't know. How would you react if someone cosplayed as a character from Noirmore Academy? That would be an honor, honestly. That would be really cool to see. And also, a little hard, I think. I would guess people who have experience with Homestuck cosplays or stuff like that would probably be more, qualified. Lydia's parents did not serve in the war because Lydia's parents are from a completely different continent. Lydia and her brother are from a place that's like across the sea from Drakenspire. The war happened only between two fiefdoms of this country, Drakenspire and Northburg, so Lydia's family was very far removed from it. They probably might have heard about it in the news or something, but it wouldn't have affected them very much. They're very far. Not like the World Wars, which actually did affect many parts. Well, not the World Wars didn't necessarily affect the entire world, but, you know. We called them World Wars because they were the biggest wars involving like the most countries we'd ever seen. But the war in this game is not quite the same. It's much more personal, I'd say. Oh, delightful making any of my characters would be incredible. She makes such amazing work. If she wants to hit me up about it, I would love to. Well, Taylor, I don't know. I think Michael is a very talented voice actor, but he'd have to be able to do a English accent for the Bard. Well, I'm still wondering if the Bard would have an English accent. There's a couple world building stuff I'm thinking about if the Inked Wastes would have a different accent from Drakkenspire, but it probably will depend on who I end up casting for the Bard, since he's kind of like a representation for the Inked Wastes. But it's more likely that whoever voices him should have a authentic or very accurate English accent. Though there are a lot of very different English accents, and I'm thinking something probably more lower class. Maybe Cockney or something adjacent. I'm not British myself, so I'm sorry if I don't know the particulars or names where certain accents come from. That might be something I'll have to dig into, so I don't thoroughly embarrass myself. What about Judith's family? That's a good question. Her parents did not serve in the war. But they were affected by it. Because the town of Noirshire, which is the town that is close... Noirshire? In... Shire... Hold on, I'm trying to think about pronunciation here. Shire is kind of how Shire is pronounced in English. In England, right? They don't really... Like Worcestershire. Worcestershire. It's not Worcestershire, it's Worcestershire in English, right? Anyway, Noirshire, which is the town that's close to Noirmore Academy, is where Judith's family lives. And Noirshire is very close to the Inked Wastes. So Noirmore Academy is pretty close. I have to still kind of map out exactly where it is, but it's pretty darn close to the Inked Wastes. It's one of the closest non-Inked Wastes cities to the Inked Wastes, hence why there's a lot of characters that originate from there attending the school, like Madame Nunatak, Lady Nunatak, sorry, Miss Nunatak, and Nicholas. They're both from the Wastes, as well as the Bard, of course. Why are they called the Inked Wastes? Because it's basically a wasteland. At least part of it is. A lot of it is like these deserts of black sand, which is like magnetic black sand. And then a lot of it is also just black water, black sea that looks like ink. There is some life in it, but most of it is relegated to the islands and the sea, or very dangerous wildlife. Like, there's a lot of sea monsters in the sea there. And in the deserts, there are some burrowing monsters and other creatures. And down in the caves are probably the most valuable part of the waste. That's where they mine extremely valuable ore, hence why people tolerate staying in the wastes. But it's the waste because it's a really dangerous wasteland. Oh, that's a great question, Wolfie. American accent. Yeah, basically anyone who has origins in the fiefdom of Corvenstone. Corveth is the name of the country. Corvenstone is the name of the central fiefdom, or the fiefdom where the king rules from, which is purple themed. You can actually see the king's crest, or the crest of Corvenstone, in the demo. And Corvenstone is... I've talked about this in a previous stream, but Corvenstone is basically the royal fiefdom, the king's fiefdom, and it is where the America sort of equivalent is, and the capital city of Corveth is like New York, 1940s New York, and people have like New York accents or Bostonian accents, classic 1940s Americana voices, transatlantic vibe. So that was kind of the ironic joke of the setting, is that the actual like upper crust royal people all have like Boston, New York type of accent, not British. British accent is actually from a lesser fiefdom. Just kind of the reversal joke. So that's why Headmaster Claiborne has a somewhat American accent, because he was originally born in Corvenstone. And he ended up moving to Drakenspire when he was young and joined the Drakenspirian army. And you'll find that other characters that have American accents are also probably from Corvenstone. So, whenever you hear that, now you know. They're not from Drakenspire. There'll also be a couple of characters with French accents, and they will be from Northburg, because Northburg is more French-coded. It's tough getting nice, accurate accents, though, because a lot of voice actors are American. At least, ones that sort of in the, like, indie animation or indie game space. But I would really like to make sure, if I can, as an indie project, because as an indie project we don't have the same resources to look internationally as some other projects do. I want to hopefully be able to get authentic French accents, authentic English accents. Like, for example, Judith, her actress, is actually from Britain. But American accents, that's easy. The indie space is filled with us darn Americans infecting everything. And even then, British itself is relatively easy compared to others, but French, maybe, that might be a lot harder to find. And same with Scottish or Irish. There's a couple Irish characters in the game, and I want to try to find authentic Irish accents, so I'm not being overtly offensive. But I don't think like faking an accent is necessarily a bad thing. It's just if a person like from that area hears it and they like start laughing, then I know like, uh-oh. Uh-oh. I don't want people to just laugh when a story's trying to be serious, you know? Yeah, Marcus, the hey, I'm walking here type of accent. The different fiefdoms are themed to different colors because it makes it much easier for the person watching or playing the game to understand who's who. Phoenix has a very good question. Will the game be released episodically or all at once when it's complete? All at once. At least that's our goal, anyway. We don't have any plans to release it episodically. Just because the episodic release type of thing kind of has led to a lot of issues, I think, in the past. It is good in the sense of it allows companies, especially very small indie companies, to be able to get the funding they need with each release to continue working. So I think it's very good for like obviously indie pilots and stuff. Though for games, I feel like it can tend to cause, I don't know, how do I describe this? Like, I feel like a lot of episodic games have problems with maintaining consistent stories or consistent experiences throughout the entire project. They feel like they change almost too much in between, and when you try to play all the episodes together, it's like it just doesn't feel like the same game almost. I don't know. I feel like there might be just consistency problems, or it feeling like they didn't actually plan the entire story from start to finish. I could be wrong though, because I don't think I've played. Hold on. Yeah, Life is Strange was episodic. That's one, but Life is Strange is something that actually feels consistent from beginning to end, because it feels like it was a bigger company, and they felt like they had more of an actual plan going in. We might release episodically, but I would really not prefer to. I really want like a good, consistent experience that you can play through from beginning to end. So we'll see how well our funding takes us. I do have some good news, and that is the fact that the main story quest script is now like 60% done. Right now I'm writing day 7 of 11. And it's going really well. I'm really excited with how the story is evolving. Now, the story was something that I had planned beginning to end already before actually starting the script. I had like everything, all the plot points panned out to try to make sure that I could have good like foreshadowing and development throughout. So for me, that was like really helpful of having like beat by beat plot points already pre-planned before actually going into the script proper. If there's anything I want to nail in this game, it's the script. Because it's a story game, so story needs to be king. It would be fun to have Jacksepticeye on the project, but again, I think he might be too big for me to contact. Like I've said before, it's just, those kind of guys get contacted so much by so many people that it's very hard to really like stand out, especially if I can't pay them nearly as much as someone, as a bigger company might. I mean, we have, as amazing as it is that we raised 50,000, it's not enough for like getting big names on the project unless they want to, you know, donate their time basically or work for a much cheaper wage. I'm still going to be seeking external funding to be able to have better marketing for the actual launch of the game, and to see if we can pay more people to help on the project, because as it is, our budget right now is very tight, but it is enough for us to be able to finish the game, which is great. But if I'm gonna plug anyway, if you want to help support the making of this game, you can donate through my Streamlabs link right in the description below, or you can support on Kickstarter. I'm really liking how this is turning out. Hehehe. Let me give him some eyebrows. He looks a bit strange without eyebrows. Where should I paint them? Probably here. Will this game have side quest too? Yes, definitely. Now, again, depending on time and funding, currently I might only be able to have side quests for our major characters like Lydia, Gina, etc. But if depending on time and stuff, we'd also like to have more like extra side quests or secret side quests and stuff for other more minor NPCs characters. NVO asks, so what's this world you're building? I've seen some of your videos. That's a good question, but I cannot answer that in any sort of timely manner. I'd recommend watching the Noirmore Academy devlogs, starting with episode 1. And then I think it's episode like 2 or 3 that focuses a lot more on the world of the game. There should be a playlist specifically for those devlogs, so I recommend giving those a watch because they give a very good kind of concise summary of everything, basically. Taylor asks if we're going to see the horse creature in this game. Yeah, we are. The crystalline horse creature that was in Mariposa demo, that will be in this game. Because that creature originates from this planet. Taylor asks, why is it 11 days instead of 12? Because it is. Like, that's just how long it took for in my story planning session. That's the amount of days we needed to really complete the story. So, yeah. Multi-Fandom Studios, this is a good question. How confident do you feel with... Wait. Oh, sorry. Oscar says, how confident do you feel with what you've written so far? Very confident. There's definitely still needs to be editing involved and editing done. There's maybe some awkward dialogue that it could be fixed. I want to maybe hire an editor to help me out there. But when it comes to the actual main plot itself, I'm very, very happy with how it's looking. And Multi-Fandom Studios asks, are there going to be more, for lack of better wording, dominant species like the Cyquine? So, more like, what's the word? Sapient, rather than sentient? I think sentient is when it's like animal level self-awareness, right? Or animal to human level self-awareness. But sapient is like human, or sapient or sentient? Sapient is like human level intelligence, right? So if we're talking about human level intelligence, there are no other human level intelligence species on this planet besides... Well, hold on. There are, but they're more... Okay, they're more like supernatural level. Somewhat supernatural. Cyquine are the only human level intelligence on this planet. But there are also the Draken, which are also human level, but they're more mythical in nature. If that makes sense. Phoenix asks, have you ever wondered what hair color characters would have if the world had color? Like characters with whiter hair might be blonde or ginger, or darker haired characters might have brown or black hair. Yeah, that's a good question. And I've been thinking of like making sort of just for fun art of how the characters would look as humans, or if they had colors, that kind of thing. I have thought about that, and in the future, I might be making some art of that. Marcus asks, what is the Mariposa Project? That's a good question. It's basically a previous game that we tried to have funded through Kickstarter, which is a 3D platforming game heavily inspired by stuff like Mario Galaxy, Psychonauts, A Hat in Time, Sly Cooper, but it wasn't able to get funded. However, it still kind of serves as the basis for this universe. And in the future, depending on how things go with Noirmore and funding, we want to be able to make Mariposa in the future as sort of the compilation or congregation. What's the word? Like the when everything is coming together, like the the project, like the big, like all these planets coming together. You get to visit a bunch of different planets, and you get to visit this planet, you get to visit Kitty Roo's planet, explore a whole bunch of things, meet characters like Judith when she's grown up, that kind of stuff. It makes more sense if you like watch the Mariposa videos or look at the Mariposa Kickstarter page. Sorry. Yeah, I would love to make Mariposa someday. So, we'll see. MMORPG, that'd be fun. But we definitely could not make that with our current team level. Let's see. It was actually not inspired by Barbie Fairytopia. That was actually one of the Barbie films that I didn't really watch growing up. I did watch a lot of the other Barbie movies, though. Princess and the Pauper, Nutcracker. I think I saw Fairytopia like one time. But when people pointed out the similarities, I was like, oh. That's funny. I did know that there was another Barbie movie called Mariposa, though. It was not the direct inspiration, but maybe it was an unconscious inspiration. Because Mariposa is just the Spanish word for butterfly. And I tried like looking at some other languages for inspirations for Mariposa's name, like papillon in French, but Mariposa is just such a good word. Like, it fits so well that I just decided to use it, even though Barbie already has. It's a very nice word for a name that is butterfly related. The face is not finished, but I'm gonna stop working on it for now. And instead, I'm gonna start on well, that's an interesting suggestion, Edward, but not really. That's not the plan. Oh, I really liked that Barbie Rapunzel one. Yeah, that was good. Oh, what the heck did I do? Oh, okay. Oh, that's neat, Oscar. Oh, his arms are shaped like that just because I wanted them to be. It's a fantasy world, so I thought it'd be fun to have all these different kind of horn shapes. But they grew that way. He's not really super careful about his appearance. He does care about like being well groomed and good, you know, well clean and all of that, but he wouldn't be the type to like get his horns modified or anything like that. She has a lot of paint on her hands because she paints a lot. And she's very messy. She's a very messy painter. I feel like I'm so slow. Tangled is one of my favorite Disney movies. It's so good. What has been my favorite part of making Noirmore Academy so far? Asks Wolfie Gamer Gotcha. Oh, that's a good question. Probably making the character models and writing the scripts, but scripts are a bit hard for me. I love writing, but also sometimes it takes me a bit to actually get in the headspace for writing. Like, I have to be like really focused on writing, you know? So I have to kind of be in the right headspace to do it and really focused. But for making character models, I don't really have to get into that headspace. I can just pop on a video, like YouTube video in the background, like a Wendigoon video or something, and listen to it while I'm drawing, and it's really easy for me. But for writing, it's a bit harder because I have to really focus. I can't like have a video on in the background. Maybe I'm just addicted to YouTube. That might be it too. YouTube addiction is real. Hello, Swirl. Welcome in. I don't know if I like how this is looking. Yes, the children would have to change their eye color. It's not like a really big process to do that, because their eyes are kind of crystalline in nature, the color in there, so they can be attuned and changed using special contact lenses. When babies are born, they probably have clear or white eyes. Oh yeah, agreed. I do like to have music on, at least when I'm writing. It helps put me in the headspace, especially if it's music that is kind of the same sort of vibe or tone of the scene that I'm writing. Do characters get their ears pierced? Oh yeah, there's actually a couple characters that already do. Like, where is she? Marisol. Marisol. Her ears are pierced. And so is Coach Cabrera's. This is my big, like, reference file. Reference photo file. Let's look at his eyes next. I love Genshin's soundtrack so much. It's so beautiful. That's what we're listening to, of course. His eyes are looking kind of weird here. I might have to do that in the model though. Are these people's too big? Thanks, Noah. Wolfie Gamer Gotcha says, do characters' eyes look different if they go blind? Since their eyes are crystalline, are they able to be cracked or broken? Good question. I wouldn't say the crystalline eyes are like very literal crystals. It's more like very small, like micro crystals that are embedded inside the muscles of the iris. But even then, I'm sure they can get damaged in the same ways that ours can. In fact, they probably sparkle a little in the light, which would be really fun visual. But if they go blind, the irises would probably look different depending on what kind of blindness it is and what exactly is being affected to cause the blindness. I'm wondering if these are too big. If the pupils are, irises are too big. Yes, she is a cat. Let's see. Ah, scary. Ah, scary. Oh, I've created more than 3 planets, but the planet I probably most want to live on is Felmuria, the giant tree cat planet. They do drink tea. bit of extra color in the pupil. Usually, like, I like to add like a tiny bit of blue to show like a little reflection. Make the pupil feel a little more alive. And then of course, the specularity. Though, depending on how this character looks, sometimes you don't really see it very much. So sometimes I might put it more like here. Do they import chocolate? Probably. They probably have some kind of chocolate equivalent. In fact, almost certainly do. What's the main source of protein in their diet? They do eat meat. They are omnivorous, so meat. It's kind of, it doesn't really necessarily make sense to have a sapient species that is not omnivorous, just because, like, I'm not saying like it's impossible, but it just kind of makes most sense to me. But you know, I don't really know how to explain myself, but I'm pretty sure, like, scientifically, it makes most sense to have a predatory or omnivorous species be the ones that are the most intelligent, because generally predator animals are more intelligent than prey animals. But let's see, I think next. Yeah, exactly. Judith mentioned brownies. There is chocolate equivalent. They probably just call it chocolate. I can't, like, rename everything. I can't, like, rename everything they referred to, or else it'd be, like, impossible to understand what anyone's talking about, you know? Like, I've been considering just having the days of the week called, like, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, just because if they were speaking in their own language, we would still probably translate it that way. There has to be some level of world building where you're like, should I just call it the same thing we call it in our world, just to make it, like, understandable, you know, to the audience? Yeah, I'm not saying, like, it's impossible for a herbivorous sapient species. It's just, like, less likely, yeah. Just because these guys are based off of animals that are somewhat herbivorous doesn't mean they would be. Even then, horses are not necessarily entirely herbivorous. Some of these guys do also eat, like, small birds or other things, depending on the situation. What should I texture next? The tail is already textured because I just took it from Lydia's texture. Well, if they visited Earth, people would already know they're aliens. Like, the Earth of this universe is cyberpunk future Earth, so they would already know these guys are aliens, and they're the ones that have the spacefaring technology in the first place. That, and there's another planet that had spacefaring tech too. That's what led to First Contact. That's true. Mostly Fandom Studios. What should I texture next? Maybe I'll start on the horns. I wanted to just reuse Lydia's texture for her horns too, but his horns are a little different structure-wise, like they have this little point at the end, so. Is the music coming through all right? Oh, that's great, Spencer. I don't think Judith would get along with Twilight. Probably not. Twilight is too much of a teacher's pet for Judith to handle. Judith would probably make fun of her a lot. Do you have Leon asks, do you have any go-to pieces of media or anything else for when your inspiration or motivation is running low? That's a great question. I would probably say something I did to go back for inspiration was reread some of the series of unfortunate events. I also replay old Nancy Drew games. Like the one I was replaying recently was Curse of Blackmore Manor, and then I also played a bit of what's it? It's the one that's set in the South. Hold on. Ghost of Thornton Hall. Those are really fun for kind of getting more puzzle inspiration, mystery inspiration. Oh, I also played the Japanese one recently too. That was fun. If you play the demo, and if you examine that picture with Judith's examine button, you'll get a little more details on that picture. Wolfie Gamer Gotcha asks, what are your favorite and least favorite things to texture? Good question. My favorite things to texture are definitely faces. That's why I started on his first. Least favorite is probably inorganic things like boxy objects, because you have to like highlight the corners and get the right materials on it, and I don't know, it's just not very fun to me. I really like texturing stuff like clothes and faces and legs and hands a lot more than I like texturing objects, because I like the more, organic edges and the hard edges that I have to like highlight the edges of and stuff like that. It's just not as fun. As it is, I'm still not on the level of like a Riot Games texture artist or anything like that. I'm still trying to get better. But sometimes it feels like I'm very stagnant. But I keep trying to get there. It'll take time. That's my goal, of getting to the level of like Riot Games texturing World of Warcraft. But I also have to balance the fact that I have like the more simplistic kind of art style with how the characters look. It's always a balance. A game that inspired me recently was this game called Locomotive. 2 words, Locomotive. That was a very fun, cute, 90s inspired, like LucasArts adventure game inspired indie game that came out like I think this year or just last year in December. I've recently played that with my mom. It was super cute and fun. It was like fully voice acted, classic adventure game, but it was not nearly as hard as the actual classic adventure games because those were like stupidly hard in Moon Logic. But this one, it offered, like, it had a very nice hint system, so if I was stuck, I never even had to look up a walkthrough. I just used their very good hint system that helped out with whatever you were currently working on. Another good game that I like is Escape Simulator. It's like an escape room game. That one was a good inspiration for Northern Academy. So I recommend checking those out. Actually, let me go ahead and show you the Steam page for Locomotive. I believe it's also on Switch. Here, this game. I recommend it. It's good. Very classic, very cheeky, funny. Murder mystery on a train. But yeah. The horns are not done, but I want to move on to something else for now until I go back to them. Thank you, Leon. I think I'm gonna look at the at the hair next. Thankfully thankfully on this guy I don't have to worry about texturing like a huge complicated piece of hair. It's just a normal like guy short haircut, so this is gonna be way easier to texture than like Cabrera, who had this giant ponytail that was fun but took a while to finish texturing. My favorite classic Disney movie? Well, if we count like Renaissance era movies, which I would, Beauty and the Beast, top. And if you count Treasure Planet, which I guess I would, Treasure Planet, Beauty and the Beast. But if we are only counting like Walt Disney era Disney movies, then I would say maybe Cinderella. Hold on, let me look it up, because honestly the Renaissance movies are my favorite Disney movies. Let's see. See, there's Dumbo, Bambi, Snow White, of course. Three Caballeros. Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan are also very good. Peter Pan is something I like, very kind of close to my heart, I guess. There was Sleeping Beauty. So, yeah, I think Peter Pan might be my favorite. Peter Pan and Cinderella might be my favorite Disney era, Walt Disney era. Lady and the Tramp, oh yeah, that's also very good. I really like Sleeping Beauty aesthetically, but I don't really like the story of it that much. And yeah, but I really like it aesthetically. Like it's beautiful backgrounds, beautiful animation, beautiful character designs. But as weird as it might be to say, as someone who is a fan of Walt Disney, I think the Renaissance was when Disney was really, really at its best. But I might also be biased as someone who kind of watched those more when I was a kid. I don't know. But I really like the Mickey Mouse shorts. Definitely. From Walt's era. I was wondering if Treasure Planet counted because, hold on, when was Treasure Planet released? Was it like 2000? Yeah, 2002. I say that because it's kind of funny to me to think of a classic Disney movie as something that came out when I was like 5. I was like 4. It's like, I'm not that old, guys. I still remember seeing Finding Nemo in theaters when I was a kid and getting kind of scared by the shark. I think I was 6 when it came out, and for a 6-year-old, the shark part was pretty scary, but in a good way. We gotta scare your kids a bit so they get prepared for the real world. I think Sleeping Beauty is kind of weird to me because, like, the fairies are really the stars of the movie. Like, let's be real here. Like, they have, like, the most screen time. And they're fine characters, but I think it just feels weird to me to have basically the comic relief characters be the main characters and have, like, the biggest screen time in that kind of, like, fairy tale sort of movie. Aurora has, like, no character or screen time, which kind of is disappointing to me since she's the Sleeping Beauty. I would have preferred if more... as iconic and good as it is, I feel like I would have reduced or cut the whole scene where the fairies are trying to bake the cake for Aurora and focus more on Aurora herself a bit, like a little more of her character. She doesn't have to be like this complex, strong female character or something, but I feel like I really would have just liked to see more of her in her movie instead of her fairies. I say this because I watched it like really recently. I watched it like just last year, and that was just kind of bugging me. There's a lot of really good things about that movie, especially like the dragon and the battle, But another weird thing is that the prince doesn't talk at all in the climax of the movie. It's really bizarre. Like when he's fighting the dragon, after he's fighting the dragon, as he's escaping, there's like a couple moments where you would expect him to say something, but he doesn't. It's really weird. Again, it's a good movie. It's a little weird to me. It's just, I can't like quite connect with it as compared to some other Disney movies, even if I really like it. The fairies are good characters. They take up a little too much of the time, I think. Oh, thanks, Zero. But what's funny is that cat race is not new. That's actually the cat race that's from my previous game. So to people who joined in my channel at Noirmore Academy, it might be a new race, but the cat people are actually one of the oldest in my game Mariposa world. Oh yeah, that's a good point, Oscar. The wolves did raise Mowgli, but they're like not in the rest of the movie. Huh. Yeah, it's perfectly fine to make OCs for Noirmore. I've seen quite a few people do it already, and there's been some really creative and cool designs. Oh, what just happened? Why'd the music cut out? Oh. YouTube was like, video paused, continue watching. Well, this video is about to end anyway, so let's change instead to Genshin Impact Liyue music. If you'd like to help support the stream, you can do so through this link here. I'll put in the chat. What's your favorite Disney song to sing? Asks Swirl Beast. That's a good point. That's a good question. I think one of my favorite songs to sing is actually the one from Hercules, from Megara. I Won't Say I'm in Love. That one is really fun because it has so much like personality. If there's a price for rotten judgment, I guess I've already won that. That one is really fun. But, part of your world will always be special in my heart because I sang it for my middle school talent show. Oh my goodness. Ziggurat says, karaoke stream when? Thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate that. Karaoke stream when? That'd be fun. I feel like I want to keep my streams, more, like focused? I'm sorry. I was not focused there when I was answering that question. More focused on like art stuff, but karaoke stream could be fun. Oh, I dressed as a mermaid like a little bit for the talent show. I kind of like had like, my mom helped me make this sort of paper mermaid tail, and then during the sort of climax of the song I kind of take it off and then dance around like she's pretending to be human. It was fun. Yeah, I have a very loud keyboard, so let's just pretend that she's very good at mimicry and she can just make my keyboard sounds. Oh, hello. We got a new subscriber, Seth Lowell. Thank you for subscribing. Let's see. In the 0XD Gold asks, if you were in the world of Noir Academy, would you be a student or a teacher? Well, considering I'm 26, I'd probably be a teacher. I would probably want to teach art, of course. Now, there are teachers in the game that probably won't be seen, or they'll just be like NPCs. They won't be like important to the story because technically there are other teachers that I haven't introduced to you guys for the sake of the teachers kind of exist in lore for the sake of world building because there are other classes like art classes and stuff, but if they're not Judith's teachers, they probably won't be relevant because that's way too many characters to be relevant, and also might be too many for me to model at this time. But they might be in the game as like sort of very minor characters with more simple designs, depending on, you know, timelines and if I'm able to have the time to do it and stuff. Because like there is an art teacher in the school, but we might never see them because they're not relevant at all. You're not relevant. Oh, Foxy Fox asks, I'm planning to go to a 3D animation program. Do you have any advice for beginners in making 3D models? Good question. I also learned 3D through going to college, but honestly, a lot of what I learned was self-taught, just using YouTube and 3D like mentorship programs. I'd say that a good piece of advice is to really learn your program. A good way to do that is through YouTube videos, but try to know everything very well and learn hotkeys. Hotkeys are your friend. Take time to really sit down and learn those hotkeys. And sometimes it's just going to take muscle memory to really learn a lot of them. And you just got to practice over and over using those hotkeys. I would also recommend using this book called Anatomy for Sculptors. I don't have it myself, but they have like an ArtStation page that sometimes I reference, and it's very good stuff. Wolfie Gamer Gotcha asks, of the characters you voiced, who's the most fun for you? Well, probably Mariposa, but I like doing like kind of the deeper voice characters because it's really fun for me. I'm probably going to voice adult Kitty Roo in Mariposa. And I'm excited to voice her because I have just kind of had this voice in mind for her. I'm thinking about, to save money, I probably will be voicing some people in Noir Academy. In the demo, I voiced Becky, but I'm not quite sure if it was good or not. I might want to get some feedback on it from other voice actors, see what they think. I am not a British person, but I tried my best to have a fairly good accent, but I can't tell if it was good enough to not be laughable to actual British people, so I don't know. Doing a light voice, like a lighter kind of teenage voice while doing an accent was a bit tough for me, but if I practice a bit more, I could probably handle it better. As it is, I might instead pivot to voicing Miss Keene. I don't know for sure though, because like I said, I want to actually be able to have a good enough accent to do her. I might do just like some NPCs, NPC students instead. I don't know. But I have to be able to save money because like I said, we're technically on a pretty tight budget. So I'll probably be voicing maybe one of the main characters. But voice acting is a skill I would really like to get better at. I'd really like to learn how to do better British accents, and also I'd really like to learn to do Irish or Scottish accents. But I feel like actually going to those countries and really immersing myself in the language is one of the best ways to do that. But I don't have the money to travel, so maybe in the future. Watch all of Monty Python for the accents. I'm afraid the question of how to do world building and how to tell a good story is just incredibly broad. I would suggest just looking up some good videos on YouTube. There are a lot of incredibly good creators that make incredibly good videos about things to consider when world building or plotting out your story. There aren't necessarily hard, fast rules, but there are a lot of good things to at least be thinking about, especially when plotting. Thank you, Oscar. What indie show do you like? Asks Pixel. I think I've talked about this before on stream. I really like Digital Circus so far. I really like Lackadaisy. I was a big supporter of the Lackadaisy crowdfunding. And let's see, which other ones do I really like? I think those are my top two. I liked Murder Drones. I feel like there are a lot of indie pilots that have sort of a problem with the script problems, where sometimes they use too many words to say something that could take like a few. I don't know if I like how this is going. Maybe I want it to be a little more curly. Yeah, his hair needs to be more curly. I don't like how this is looking, but this part's looking fine. I'll probably have to get some references for that. I'm getting pretty hungry though, so I'm probably gonna wrap up soon. Have a nice day, Oscar. I wouldn't know where to even start when it comes to having gloves as merchandise. I don't really know a distributor for that. But, I feel like gloves are much too common, or they're just like gloves of a certain color. They don't really have like anything special about them that would make for good merchandise, I think. Alright, we're gonna stop in about 5 minutes. Would Cyclones wear fingerless gloves for any reason? Well, probably for multiple reasons. I mean, I can think of one of them. Like maybe if they have a job that involves using their connections on their fingers. Like if they're maybe a communications expert who's like connecting calls from what do I call them? Like when you touch your fingertips to like a crystal, you can like send out calls even if you're in a place that is fairly low connection. So if they were like, sorry, I can't describe this very well. But another example would be, for example, if you're an animal trainer and you want to connect with the animals fairly easily by touching their foreheads or like the gems on their heads or something, then you might wear gloves that is more easy to do that with. Looking good so far. But I guess I kind of wanted like, one of my ideas for him was kind of like a Clark Kent looking character with a sort of square face. Swishy hair. Well, I think that's gonna be it for today, fellas. I'm hungry. I'm gonna go eat. So thank you all so much for joining, and I'll see you next time. I don't know when I'm gonna stream next. I'm gonna try to stream on Thursdays maybe, but we had a little bit lower attendance than normal, so I'm wondering if maybe Thursday is not the best day. Maybe a weekend would be better. Maybe Saturdays would be better. What do you think, guys? Do you think maybe Saturdays would be better? I don't know. Alright, see ya everybody. Bye bye.